Now I'd like to clarify some points, specifically what are the chakras and what do I see when I'm doing a reading. Think of the chakras as 7 data banks, computer data banks in your body, beginning at the base of your spine. First one. Second one, the sexual genital area, lower back. Third one, the solar plexus or the stomach, abdominal region. Fourth is the heart. The fifth is the throat, neck area. The sixth is the mind, face, head, cerebral territory. The seventh, the top of the head. Each one of these logs a specific type of data. Now that's where the fascination comes in. We are a science. We are as organized and as refined as any science can possibly get. You log every single perception in one of those 7 chakras according to the quality of the power that perception resonates. Let me give you an example. Every single issue that has anything to do with you developing your sense of self-esteem, every person that you associate with yourself, and you probably have never broken down your relationships in terms of which are the people in charge of helping me destroy or ruin my self-esteem. They come here. Which are the people that are in charge of helping me develop my mind? They go here. Which are you probably have never done that, but if you do, you'll notice that the people who come under the self-esteem category have all their data imprinted in your 3rd chakra. You log your experiences with them in this. And what does that mean? You know, Einstein made his very famous statement when he got into the realm of quantum physics, and he says, I can't believe the gods would roll dice with the universe, but they do. Meaning that there is an X factor that seems to be present in the dynamic of creation when energy becomes matter. I suspect that X factor is exactly what I'm talking to you about today, which is the vote your consciousness has in the formation of energy. So that, let's say you have issues of low self-esteem, that converts into the quality of the cell tissue in this part, in the 3rd chakra area, or the solar plexus, the pancreas, the abdominal region. That forms that, okay? I will take you through this in great detail so that you know what goes where. But when you start thinking of yourself as a data system, and you begin to realize, I record every thought I have. Think of yourself biologically, then shift to the scripture. And I don't care what scripture you shift to, as long as it's authentic, whether it's Vedic, Judaic, Christian, the Quran, I don't care. Because truth is truth. And you'll see that the common teaching in all the scriptures that are worth their salt is get your attention in present time. Don't carry vibrations or perceptions with you that you do not need or that take power from you. The truth is, the scriptures are a book that offer instruction on the management of power, because that is exactly what we are living within our biological structure. It is one in the same thing. And that's what I want to teach you. So when I see the chakras, that's what I look at. That's what they are. They are the energetic complement of the physical anatomy. I refer to an 8th chakra. The 8th chakra is not in your physical body. I don't know where it is. For all I know, it seems to hover above the head. And I'm not sure it hovers there because I need to perceive logically 7 and then 8 on top of 7, and 7 being the crown chakra, or because by nature of its content it tends to be more impersonal and not that directly biologically related. Your 7 chakras are directly biologically connected to what happens to you. One of the principles that I have learned, and the principle that I work with again and again and again, is that your biography becomes your biology. And that is law. So that when I do a reading on someone, I am in fact interpreting their biographical information that is in the quote cell memory. This is how we make ourselves energetically. Now, when you think of this logically, and this will make sense more and more as you work with each one of these teachings, that you are an electromagnetic field. When you start working with chakras, and you start working with yourself as an energy being, you're going to finally take the law of magnetic attraction very seriously. Meaning, you attract to yourself what you vibrate. Now let me say this again. Let me say this 1,000 ways. If I can plant the idea early on in your head that when you learn to work with yourself as an energetic being, you're going to change the rules by which you have to live your life. And one of the rules is that you suddenly take the law of cause and effect and magnetic attraction very, very seriously. And you realize, I am attracting to myself opportunities, ideas, people, places, things, diseases, viruses, whatever, that in fact you have a vote in that. Now, we've had a global implant in the 1960s that has begun the changing of our species. And that implant is that we create our own reality. That thought form never existed prior to the 1960s at all. Now, it is the underlying thought form behind the holistic health movement, behind the environmental movement, behind the therapeutic movement. There isn't one form of life as we know it sociologically that hasn't been influenced by this notion that we have more power over our reality as individuals than we've ever before considered. Now then, that perception, where you've got to learn to distinguish it, is that you don't apply it to your personality, but to your energy. And where I've seen most people fall flat on their face is that they've taken that incredibly profound truth and given that truth license to command their personality, versus that truth becoming the reason why they know they need to develop an incredible rapport with the management of their energy. Now I'm going to say this again. Your personality is the first part of you that encounters anything, right? So when you take the truth, you create your own reality. You'll use that initially as permission to say, I don't want to go here, you can't make me do this. You'll use it as a way to determine what kind of relationship you want, whether or not you want sexual freedom. You will use it to give your personality privilege. And eventually, you'll find that it wears out, because that's not what it was meant to be used for. Rather, that perception was meant to cause us to begin the journey to the next level of our evolutionary maturity, which is, if we create our own reality, that means we have to become very conscious of the management of every thought form that we perceive and breathe life into. That requires the discipline of a mystic, not a personality temper tantrum, right? Which is why I find the need to do this series so crucial, because I have seen in the last 12 years when people would come to my workshops and they would talk about their health, and they would say, I know I'm ill, and I know I'm responsible for this. I know I created this. And at first, in the early 1980s, there was this incredible enthusiasm that any illness could be healed. I know I created this, but I could heal this. Do you know what? By the late 1980s, people were showing up saying, wait a minute here. I know I created this reality, but no matter what I do, nothing's changing. How come? And if you look at the holistic movement and the shift in consciousness that we've had in the last 30 to 40 years, and all of the impact, the fact is we should be having healings by the bazillions, and they're still so rare that they merit the bestseller list. Now there's something wrong. What's amiss here? What's amiss is that we've taken that incredible perception, we create our own reality, and we've applied it only to therapeutic use in the human personality. Now it's time to apply it to the management of our spirit. And that is a totally different world. And that's where learning your energetic anatomy follows suit. Now, my final note before I jump into the beginnings of the body itself in detail, if you will, is that when I was writing this last book, it became an extraordinary journey, as most authors will tell you, that, once you start writing a book, it is itself an archetypal journey. And what happens is this. As you sit down to write the book, you think you know what you're writing about, and you start to write it. And this is probably true of any project. And then you enter the desert, and you wait in the desert. And you wait for the spirit of the project to come meet you. And in order for you to cross the desert, you have to relinquish what you thought the plans were for the book, and let the spirit of the book talk to you. That happened to me when I was writing Anatomy of the Spirit. I thought I knew what I was writing about. And then I went into the desert. And while I was in the desert, I was plagued, if not obsessed, by the notion that if I were going to teach people about their chakras, why can't I find that truth in other religions? Where are the 7 chakras in Christianity? Where are they? If I were to teach you other truths that are universal, thou shalt not kill, I can find that in any religious tradition, or don't steal. So where are the fundamental design of the human bio-spiritual system? Where is it in Judaism? Where is it in Christianity? How come it's only in the Vedic scriptures? I was really in a crisis. Then one day I was teaching, and I went to draw 7 circles on the board in a row vertically. And I was going to put the number 1 at the bottom and list the 7 chakras and begin to introduce them the way I normally do. I turned to look at it, and all of a sudden I literally saw the 7 Christian sacraments emerge in the 7 chakras. And I'm looking at this, and then I saw the Judaic tree of life, the Sephirot, merge into the 7 levels of God. The Judaic tradition, when Yahweh says, I give you these 10 powers, develop them and come home to me. And when the Kabbalists illustrated those 10, they partnered some of them so that they formed 7 levels, the tree of life. The 10 powers we need to have within ourselves. Then I looked at the Christian sacraments, not literally, but symbolically. And I realized that the first is baptism, which is tribal, which fits the first chakra. And all of a sudden, I saw a portrait of us that I never understood before, that included a portrait of the mystical teachings of the Judaic, Christian, and Vedic traditions, all around lessons of the management of our divine power within our lives. So that is going to be my closure text with you in this series. And that's that I will introduce to you the symbolic meaning of the sacraments in the Judaic tree of life into your biological spiritual system. I think you'll find that it's going to bring you a great deal of insight in terms of the fact that most of you are probably what I would call contemporary mystics. You are mystics without monasteries. You are people who have invoked a great deal of spiritual truth, wanting your life to be a path of spiritual clarity, without realizing that the same challenges that would have met you in the monastery are going to meet you in everyday life. The same madness is going to meet you. Only it's not vogue to go up to your boss and say, look, I'm having a mystical crisis. Would you mind if I take the week off? I mean, this kind of thing is not allowed to happen. But what is, the more you understand what's really going on in the world behind your eye, the more you can manage it.